3 Soviet T-34 tanks edged forward, followed closely by Red Army Infantry. The lead tank clanked to a stop, while its turret rotated the main gun, trying to intimidate any Germans watching. Suddenly, the lead tank's hatch opened and a head appeared with binoculars to scan the scene. In front of these 3 steel beasts is a young 19-year-old Austrian-born sniper, with only his wits and his bolt-action rifle. From 150 yards away, the young sniper focused the center of his scope on the Soviet tank commander's head, then squeezed the trigger. A red splat hit the hatch as the Soviet tanker sank into the bowels of his tank. The well-aimed bullet marked the beginning of another savage melee on the Eastern Front. Josef Sepp Allerberger was the 19-year-old Austrian sniper who single-handedly changed the course of the engagement that day. By war's end, Allerberger would go down as one of the most lethal snipers of the German Wehrmacht. Josef Sepp Allerberger came from the Austrian town of Wals-Sitzenheim, which is located near the city of Salzburg, bordering southwestern Germany. Allerberger's war started when he was initially sent to the Eastern Front in 1942 as a machine gunner. The Second World War's Eastern Front was notorious for its savage fighting and unrelenting ferocity. During the first few months of Operation Barbarossa, the Germans lost scores of officers and NCOs to Soviet sniper fire and realized a counter was needed. Allerberger got his shot as a marksman when he spent time behind the front lines after being wounded at Stavropol, a city in the North Caucasus. He saw a captured Mosin Nugget rifle in the battalion's armory, to which the armory NCO handed Allerberger the rifle, saying, "Show me what you can do. Perhaps you're born to be a sniper." That same evening, still nursing a wound, Allerberger started practicing. It became clear to the NCO after watching him shoot. He had a natural talent for precision shooting. His first kill, one he would never forget, came soon after rejoining the front lines with his division. A Soviet marksman was harassing the German line, but the Soviets' inexperience showed as he stayed in the same position when he fired. The muzzle flash was spotted. Allerberger carefully moved to a pile of logs about 300 yards away from the Soviet marksman, aligned his sights with a deep breath, took the slack from the trigger, and fired. A perfect hit was confirmed by his spotter, giving Allerberger his first kill. While using the Mosin Nugget rifle, Allerberger used captured ammunition that were explosive rounds, exclusive to the Eastern Front. These explosive rounds were first used by Soviets and quickly incorporated by German units, increasing the sniper's lethality. During the night of 25 March 1944, Allerberger's division was entrenched in a defensive position when the Soviets attacked, threatening Allerberger's division. While Allerberger was firing at the Soviets crossing the river, his spotter tapped his shoulder and called out a Soviet officer's location. Sepp loaded an explosive round to ensure the kill. Darting in and out of view, the target would be hard to hit. Allerberger and his spotter anticipated where the target would be and waited for him to show. "Sepp, he's running right. Go with him. Do you see part of his hat above the edge?" Allerberger knew where he would appear next, at a junction where the trenches meet. At a distance of 400 yards, Sepp took the shot. Both Allerberger and his spotter saw the fur hat pop off like a balloon, and the Soviet officer dropped. The Mosin Nugget rifle with explosive rounds quickly became a preferred tool of the Austrians, making 27 kills with it before being selected for formal sniper training at Zibauzi. While already a successful sniper, Allerberger was assigned to a 4-week training program near Judenburg, Austria at the end of 1943. He was often called upon by the instructors in sniper school to share his real-world experiences. Many of the instructors had also served on the Eastern Front. Allerberger's sniper class was instructed to record their observations on terrain, weather conditions, and hits in notebooks that they carried with them. As an experienced sniper, he cautioned the need to encode their entries in case of capture because of the treatment snipers received at the hands of the Soviets. Allerberger developed an interesting way to use an old umbrella to assist with his camouflage efforts. He stripped away the cloth and used local plants and grass woven into the wireframe to provide local cover. It proved exceptionally functional and could easily be updated to conform to a specific terrain when he changed locations in the field. Germans who came directly from training without first-hand experience in combat often managed to squeeze off 15 to 20 sniper rounds before being felled by an experienced opponent, and the Soviets had many of them. The invaluable experience of remaining exceptionally cool under fire and having carefully prepared a firing position with one or possibly more options for concealed slipaways, often made the difference between life and death. Allerberger would often crawl into no man's land at night to prepare his holes in preparation for his own withdrawal when necessary. He often added hand grenades and tripwires to cover approaches to his flanks. These could be used for protection or for distraction should he need to make a quick exit. Experienced snipers also knew how and when to jump to a predetermined safe position in a move the Germans called the rabbit jump or Hasensprung. Quick swerves and occasional doublebacks were often part of the move that required quickness, willpower, and nerves of steel. Less experienced snipers would often cringe in place, work to endure sustained, concentrated rifle, mortar, and artillery fire, and often suffer the deadly consequences. After returning to the front lines, Allerberger heard rumors of 10 or more Soviet snipers all in one place. It wasn't long before he encountered one such situation northwest of Bakalova, where 11 men in the leading company were brought down within minutes by well-trained, coordinated Soviet snipers. 2 company commanders were lost to explosive bullets when they rose to look through their binoculars. It was quickly apparent that the Germans were facing scores of Soviet snipers well camouflaged among the forest's edge. Efforts to dislodge the snipers from the thick evergreens before them proved worthless, resulting in the deaths of several German machine gunners. The unit lacked artillery or heavy mortars to dislodge the enemy, so they called headquarters for support and hunkered down. Already well known for his abilities throughout the regiment, Allerberger was dispatched immediately. The Austrian sized up the situation, and he knew he had to get closer to draw out the Soviet sniper locations in the trees. He took 5 grenade bags and filled them with grass, adding helmets and fake faces. He left those behind with others while he carefully maneuvered forward well camouflaged. When Allerberger gave the prearranged signal, the dummies were raised, and he could identify where the enemy snipers were lodged when the upper branches swayed from the pressure waves of the gunfire. He then carefully crawled some 200 yards back to safety and informed his unit on their plan of attack. He requested 5 machine guns in well-concealed positions and crawled forward yet again after relocating the men with the dummies. Once in position, he signaled to his bait, who raised the dummies slightly. When a Soviet sniper fired, he clearly identified the sniper's position and fired while the German machine gunners laced the treetops liberally to cover the sound of his deadly Mauser. The Soviet snipers fell like sacks from their elevated positions. After a short period of time, Allerberger repositioned himself and the process started again. In total, he took out 18 enemy snipers within an hour. After an extended period of quiet, the Germans cautiously advanced toward the forest and began collecting the enemy's sniper rifles and equipment. As one stepped over a Soviet's apparent lifeless body, he discovered the face of a woman who had been hit. She suddenly pulled a pistol from her jacket and squeezed off a round, nicking the German, who quickly reacted with his MP-40 to finish her off. During the war, the Soviets trained and employed more than 2,000 female snipers. The women proved tenacious and exceptionally accurate snipers as they fought to protect their country from German invaders. Among these 2,000 female snipers was Lyudmila Pavlichenko, dubbed Lady Death for her 309 confirmed kills that reportedly included 36 German snipers. Allerberger and Pavlichenko never faced each other. At a late point in the war, Allerberger joined forces with marksman Josef to eliminate a Soviet sniper who had taken down a number of Germans. After hours of scanning the landscape and peering through binoculars, they discovered the man's hide. He had ingeniously secured himself in a cave dug through a dam. The Germans needed the Soviet sniper to show himself further for a clean shot, and decided to employ a large bread bag stuffed with sticks and grass with a cap placed on top. A third man raised the dummy upward with Allerberger and Roth carefully watching the suspected position. The Soviet fired, exposing his precise position, and the 2 Germans fired explosive rounds from 2 slightly different angles. A dull thud was heard in the cave, and then there was hectic shouting heard on the Soviet side as something was carried away. To Allerberger and Roth's astonishment, an unwary Soviet observer then lifted his head with binoculars and paid for the error with his life. With that, the deadly sniper fire ceased from the Soviet side. As the war progressed, Allerberger and many German snipers took on these crucial roles, resisting the ever-growing red wave of Soviet armor and soldiers. They were often deployed to slow or even stop the Soviet advances while larger forces pulled back to safer positions. However, the end was here for Germany's Third Reich, and Allerberger was careful to ensure records of his actions in the field were not kept on him or his spotter, knowing that surrender was imminent. Allerberger survived and managed to elude Soviet captors, even after American GIs turned him over with other German Wehrmacht captives. Allerberger eventually found his way home to Austria from central Czechoslovakia. Josef Sepp Allerberger was credited with 257 kills by war's end. According to his memoirs, Allerberger was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross by Field Marshal Ferdinand Schorner, the commander of Army Group Center, on 20 April 1945. No official documentation was ever recorded of the award. However, this was not uncommon this late in the war for German soldiers. After the war, Allerberger worked as a carpenter like his father until his death in 2010. Thank you for watching this episode. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified of our next video. Stay tuned.